Back in the days when I was discovering bridge in my college snack bar, a guy named Abbie Hoffman wrote a book called Steal This Book. Well, the people that you're going to see on this video didn't actually tell me I could steal their stuff, but I did. So if they have a problem with it, they can let me know. I'm easy to find, and I'd be happy to take their video down. But I did make sure that on each of the clips that you're going to see, some of which are relatively long, I made sure that their company or their name, their channel name, was prominently displayed throughout, so that you could go there and actually like a video, join their channel, whatever you wanted to do. But I want to make sure they get the credit for it. This channel is not monetized. I'm not making a nickel from their efforts. This is a labor of love, and I hope they'll appreciate it as that. So here we go. I'm stealing a whole lot of stuff. Abbie Hoffman would be proud. So we're going to start out assuming that you don't know a darn thing about cards. If you're bored, just enjoy looking at the pretty girl. It'll be over pretty soon.
Now, some of you might have noticed at the beginning of the video that I called these playing cards. I didn't just say cards. By the way, in American pronunciation, you pronounce the R, so it's something like cards. But in the UK and Australia, we don't pronounce the R, and it's pronounced cards. Cards. Most of the time when we talk about these, we just say cards. The problem is the word card has lots of meanings. For example, you might give somebody a birthday card. Or in soccer or football, if you do something a bit naughty, you might receive a red card. Normally, it's clear from context which cards we are talking about, but if you want to be specific, you can call these playing cards. 1 playing card, 2 playing cards, etc. If you play a game with playing cards, we use the expression to play cards. And that could mean any game that you play with these cards. It's a generic term. For example, I could say to Frank, "Frank, do you want to play cards later?" And he could answer, no, because I don't have any fingers. Fair enough. A set of playing cards is called a deck. Deck. Or you could say a deck of cards. Here are some example sentences with deck. A standard deck has 52 cards. Normally you need 1 deck of cards to play a card game. However, to play canasta, you need 2 decks. Now, normally before you play a card game, you need to mix them. Oops, piece of hair. But yeah, when we're playing cards, we don't usually say mix. We actually use the verb to shuffle. So I am now shuffling the cards. I actually used to be pretty good at this. I sort of had this trick that I would do. Let's see if I can still do it. Oops. Bugger. Okay, maybe I need a table. Told you I could do it! After we've shuffled the cards, normally we deal the cards. To deal means to distribute, but we don't normally say distribute when we play cards. We usually say to deal the cards. When you play cards with other people, normally you take turns in dealing. That means that if I'm playing cards with Frank and George, Frank might deal the first time, then George will deal, then I will deal. That's taking turns. Now, if I want to tell Frank that this time he is supposed to deal, I would say to him, Frank, it is your turn to deal. I could also say to him, Frank, it is your deal, because deal can also be a noun. Now let's look at the types of cards in a deck. The first thing you need to know is that there are 4 suits. We don't say colors. I know that in French, the word for suit in this context is just color, couleur. But in English, we can say that there are 2 colors, red and black, but there are 4 different suits. And by the way, suit is spelled and pronounced the same way as this type of suit. The 4 suits are hearts, hearts, diamonds, diamonds, clubs, clubs, and spades, spades. There are 13 of each suit, and each card within a suit has its own rank or value. Okay, so this is a king, K for king. This is a queen, Q for queen. And this is a jack, J for jack. These are called face cards, these 3, because they have a person on them. This is an ace, ace. All the other cards are just called the number that is on the card. So that is a 7, that is a 9, that is a 3, and that is a 10. Very easy. Most decks of cards also come with 2 jokers. This is a joker, joker. Yes, just like the villain in Batman, the Joker. To talk about specific cards, we need to use the word of. For example, this is the Ace of Hearts. This is the 10 of Spades. This is the Jack of Diamonds. This is the 3 of Clubs. And this is the King of Hearts. Just a small pronunciation point. When we say of between 2 words, we don't always pronounce it of. We often say of or a, and that's particularly when we're speaking quickly. For example, we could say, this is the Queen of Spades, the Queen of Spades. Or you could say, the Queen of Spades, the Queen of Spades. This is the 9 of Diamonds, the 9 of Diamonds. Or the 9 of Diamonds, the 9 of Diamonds.
Okay, now we'll use those cards to play an either 2-player or 4-player version of a game called War, which is basically the simplest of all card games to play, and you don't even look at the cards until they're turned up.
War is a fun 2 to 4 player card game where players try to win all of the cards in the deck. To play War, you just need one standard deck of playing cards. First, all of the cards are dealt between the players so everyone has the same number of cards. Each player keeps their cards face down in a pile in front of them. Then, both players flip the top card on their pile face up on the table at the same time. Whoever has the highest card wins all of the cards and places them face down at the bottom of their pile. In War, aces are high. If 2 or more players flip a card in the same rank, they go to war. Each player in the war places the top 3 cards on their pile face down in front of them, then flips a 4th card face up. Whoever has the highest face-up card wins all of the cards on the table. If both face-up cards are the same rank, a double war is triggered, and each player places another 3 cards face down and flips a 4th card face up. The player with the highest face-up card in the double war wins all of the cards on the table. If the face-up cards are identical again, another war ensues, and so on until one player wins the war. Play continues until one player manages to win all of the cards in the deck and win the game.
Let's look at how you play war 4-player. Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to deal out the cards evenly to you and your 3 kids. Or heck, to you and your 3 frat brothers, however you want to do this. Sometimes in life, even as adults, a game of war is the only game we can manage. So you want to make sure you deal out evenly. If you watch my other segments, you know I have spoon thumbs. So this is about the most elegant deal I can do. Thank you for bearing with me. Now everybody puts their cards in a neat stack. And we each roll our own, as we say in poker. And instead of 2 cards coming out, you have 4. Now, this is interesting because 2 kings came out. So you have a question. Who fights the war? Well, there are 2 ways to play. One is all 4 players would fight the war, if you will. The other is the players who threw out the kings. You'll need to decide, what are your house rules for war? I would suggest, if it's you and 3 small kids, everybody gets to be part of the war. Otherwise, well, there might be issues of feeling like someone's unincluded. So let's just all play our war and see who wins. Oh, looks like I win with the 10 of spades. Lucky me. Look at all those cards I just picked up. Well, that's how war works. And I have the good fortune of being well on the way to winning the game.
Hey everybody, what is up? My name is Mackenzie.
And I'm Jonathan.
We are husband and wife, and we'd like to welcome you to Paradise.
And today we're talking about one of my favorite types of games, and that is trick-taking.
Now, if you already know what trick-taking is, you can click the timestamp right here and go see our top favorites. But if you aren't as familiar with it, we're gonna define it, so here we go.
All right, now trick-taking card games are some of the oldest forms of games. This dates back to like ancient China. And more recently, a lot of 52 card deck, poker deck type games like euchre, if you're from the Midwest, like we went to college, there's a whole lot of that going on. But what board game designers have done is taken the trick-taking mechanism and they've mixed it and melded it and come up with a whole lot of really fun twists on that, some of which are behind us that we're going to talk about. Now, a plain trick-taking card game typically consists of a player playing a card which will set a suit and a number. Every other player is going to play a card with a matching suit, and the highest number is going to win that trick. Now, if any one player does not have a card that matches the suit, they can typically play offsuit, meaning they'll play any other card. Now, if they did not play the lead suit, they likely will not qualify to win that trick when that's collected. However, many games have a trump suit, which is a separate suit that when played will always beat the lead suit. Then if somebody else plays a higher trump card, they would win that instead. And that's pretty much a trick.
Okay, now we'll take a look at a basic trick-taking card game called Spades. Not to really learn how to play spades, but to get the idea of how the game works, because it's a nice transitional game to get you started being ready for bridge.
To How to Play Spades, presented by GatherTogetherGames.com. This video will cover how to play the card game Spades. The video will start with the general concepts and gameplay and then get into more of the details for the game. The video will conclude with an example round of spades. There are different variations to the game spades. This video will cover how to play with 4 players divided into 2 teams. Teammates sit across from each other. Spades is played with a standard 52 card deck. Each player is dealt 13 cards, 1 card at a time. Spades is a trick-taking game with the object to correctly predict how many tricks you will take each round. A trick is created by each player taking a turn playing a card. The winner of the trick is the player with the highest ranking card. The cards are ranked with ace being the highest and 2 being the lowest. The spades are always the trump suit and will outrank all other cards. For example, the 4 of spades outranks the ace of hearts to win this trick. Going back to the hand that was dealt earlier, I have flipped up each player's cards for you to see. In an actual game, you will keep your cards hidden from the other players. Each player will bid how many tricks he thinks he will win during the round. The player left of the dealer is first to bid. Player B will bid 5, player C will bid 1, player D will bid 1, player A will bid 4. A player will need to be designated the scorekeeper and record each player's bid. The game begins with the player left of the dealer playing the first card. Each player must follow the lead suit whenever possible. Player B leads the ace of hearts and each player follows suit by playing a heart. Player B wins the trick. The player that wins the trick leads the next trick. Player B leads the king of hearts this time. Player C does not have any more hearts and cannot follow suit. Player C is able to play any card he wants and plays the king of clubs. Player D and player A follow the heart-led suit, and player B wins the trick with the highest ranking card in the lead suit. Player C leads again, this time with the jack of hearts. Again, player C does not have a heart to follow suit. This time, player C decides to play the trump-suited 10 of spades. Player D and player A have to follow the lead suit with hearts. Player C wins this trick with the highest ranking card. Player C leads the next trick with the 3 of spades, and again, players follow suit when possible. At the end of the round, each player counts the number of tricks won, and they are recorded on the score sheet. For Team 1, player A got 6 tricks and player C got 1 trick. When a team matches or exceeds the amount of tricks bid, they receive 10 points for each trick bid and 1 point for each additional trick won. In this example, Team 1 receives 52 points. For Team 2, player B got 4 tricks and player D got 2 tricks. Team 2 matched the amount of tricks bid and receives 60 points. It is okay that the individual players did not match their bid, just that the team total tricks matches what was bid. Each trick that is won over the amount bid is known as a sandbag or simply a bag. The total number of bags for a team is tallied. In the first round, Team 1 had 2 bags and Team 2 had 0 bags. Each time a team gets 10 bags, their score is penalized by 100 points. If a team does not reach their bid, they lose 10 times the amount bid. For example, if Team 2 were to have only won 5 tricks in the first round, their score would be negative 60. The first team to 500 wins the game. A spade-suited card cannot be the first card played in a trick unless the player has no other suits to play or if spades have been broken. Spades are broken when a player is unable to follow the lead suit and plays a spade-suited card onto the trick. When a player believes he will take 0 tricks during the round, the player will bid nil. If a player bids nil and does not win any tricks during the round, he scores 100 points. If a trick is taken on a nil bid, the player scores negative 100 points. A team's tricks are separately counted when a nil bid has been made. For example, let's say player A bid nil and player C bid 5. If player A makes his nil bid, but player C only won 4 tricks, the team would still be awarded 50 points. 100 points for player A's nil bid and negative 50 points for player C's miss. Conversely, if player A takes a trick on a nil bid while player C wins 5 tricks as bid, Team 1 would receive negative 49 points with 1 bag, negative 100 points for the nil miss, 50 points for player C's correct bid, and 1 point for the additional trick won by player A. A player can choose to bid nil without looking at his cards. This is known as a blind nil bid. A blind nil is similar to the nil bid, but is now worth 200 points if made or negative 200 points if missed. Because the possibility of a blind nil bid, players should not look at their cards until it is their turn to bid. If both teams go over 500 points in the same round, the team with the higher overall points wins the game. The game begins with player A dealing all the cards out one at a time. Player B starts with a bid of 3. Player C bids 2. Player D bids 3. And player A bids 3. The scorekeeper writes down the bids. Player B leads the first trick with the ace of diamonds. Each other player follows the diamond-led suit, and player B wins the trick with the highest ranking card. Player B leads the next trick with the ace of hearts. Each other player follows the heart-led suit, and player B wins the trick again with the highest ranking card. Player B leads again, this time with the king of hearts. Each player has to follow the suit again, and player B wins the trick with the highest ranking card. Player B leads the next trick with the 2 of diamonds. Each player is able to follow the diamond-led suit, and player D wins this trick with the highest ranking card. Player D leads the next trick with the 7 of diamonds. Player A does not have a diamond-suited card and plays the trump-suited jack of spades. Spades are now broken and can be used to lead a trick going forward. Player B and player C follow the lead suit, and player A wins the trick with the highest ranking card. The rest of the round goes as follows. At the end of the round, Team 1 has 5 tricks and Team 2 has 8 tricks. The 5 tricks for Team 1 matches their bid and they are awarded 50 points. The 8 tricks for Team 2 is 2 over their bid. They are awarded 60 points for their bid and 2 additional points for the extra tricks won. Team 1 has no bags and Team 2 has 2 bags. This wraps up how to play spades. As with most games, you will get better with practice, so don't be discouraged if it takes you a few games to catch up. Thanks for watching.
And now for Whist, which has morphed into a bunch of different types of whist, but it's also the granddaddy of bridge. Whist became auction bridge, which otherwise was called auction, and later in the 1920-30ish time frame, it became contract bridge. So initially during that time, some people were still playing auction bridge, other people were playing contract bridge, so they called it either auction or contract. These days, I don't know of anybody that plays auction bridge. It's kind of useful as a tool towards learning bridge because you don't have to get into scoring all that much. Not that big a deal. But as soon as possible, transition to contract, which is contract bridge, and then we'll start talking about how to score and those sorts of things after you've got a basic flavor. So here comes Whist.
Hello and welcome. My name is Mark. This is Riffle, Shuffle, and Roll. And today, I'm going to be teaching you the classic game of Whist according to Bicycle. If it's your first time visiting the channel, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell so you're notified about new games every week. Whist is a 4-player trick-taking card game played in partnerships. For the video, I'm going to be using Bicycle's new Navigator deck. Now, the core cards from this deck are actually based on the Trophy Whist number 39 deck produced by Bicycle Playing Cards back in 1895. And just the fact that Whist is in the branding of that deck from the late 19th century just shows you how popular the game was. For many, at that time period, it was considered the game to play. With all that said, let's dive in and learn how to play. In order to play Whist, all you need is a standard 52 card deck and a way to keep score. Cards rank 2 low, up through ace high in each suit. Whist is a partnership game. Partners sit across from each other at the table. To determine a dealer, that player shuffles the deck and deals out all of the cards. Each player will get 13 cards. The final card that is dealt to the dealer is turned face up. This card determines trump for the round. So for this example, hearts are trump. Players should keep their hands a secret, but for this video we're going to play with cards exposed. The turnip card stays on the table until it is the dealer's turn to play a card to the first trick. The player left of the dealer leads the first trick. They may play any card from their hand. Player 1 has led the first trick with the ace of spades. That is the highest ranking card in the spades suit. Following players must follow suit if they can. If they cannot, they may play any other card. The highest card in the suit that was led, or if played, the highest trump card takes the trick. The ace of spades wins the trick. The trick winner leads the next trick with any card from their hand. Again, players must follow suit if they can. If not, they can play any card. Again, the highest card in the suit that was led, or if played, the highest ranking trump card wins the trick. So our ace of clubs wins the trick. And here we fast forward a few tricks. Our trick winner led off with the queen of diamonds, play pass left, and we see that this player, player 1, does not have any diamonds. So they could play any card, and they chose to trump in on the trick with the 8 of hearts. Let's continue the trick. So here we see that all the other players were able to follow suit. The highest card in the suit that was led, or if played, the highest ranking trump card takes the trick. So our 8 of hearts wins the trick. The trick winner leads. Players must follow suit if they can, or else play any card. And play like this continues until the final trick has been collected. At that point, it's time to tally up the score. Points are determined based on how many tricks a team collects. So here we have the North-South team. They have collected 8 tricks. Our West-East team has only collected 5. A team scores 1 point for each trick beyond 6. So our North-South team earns 2 points for the round. After the score has been tallied, collect the cards and deal passes left each round. Continue playing rounds until one team reaches an agreed upon number of points, typically 10. The first team to reach that wins the game. And that's Whist according to Bicycle. This is a very straightforward game. There's a trump suit, the card ranking structure is quite normal, and it's must follow. So there's not a lot of flexibility within the gameplay. However, do not be deceived by that simplicity. This is a very deep game in which players who are able to remember what has been played and use that to determine what is left in their opponent's hands, those players are going to do very well.
I introduced my playlist on scoring with the caveat that if folks were new to the game of bridge, especially if they were new to playing cards or at least playing trick-taking card games, they needed to stop, not think about scoring, and learn a little bit about how to play some basic trick-taking card games and what they're all about. So what I'd like for you to do now is just take a look at a couple of books that I think might be of benefit to you before you move back into an introductory lessons on how to play bridge. This is a book by Jeff Bayonne called A Taste of Bridge. Let's see if I can get this on camera real good. Yeah, there you go. A Taste of Bridge. And the thing I like most about this one is that he doesn't even get into scoring until more than halfway through the book. It's really basic on the card playing bridge. If you get into an early introductory type of class or get into a group of people who try to teach you how to play bridge and they start you off with 4, 3, 2, 1 and all this stuff about bidding, and leave, get out of there. Go find a place where people are teaching you the basics of card play, how the cards work. And once you do that, then you can go to the auction part, the bidding, and learn how to score and do all that stuff. But for initially, just go to a normal class on how to play the cards. I'll give you one other book, just a commercial for me. This is one I wrote called Simplicity Bridge. I didn't have a editor. I had to do my own editing. So you might find, actually I did find some errors in there, so make sure if you download it from library.com, that's LYBRARY.com, that you get the errata sheet if there is one. Which book would I choose if I only got one? I'd choose Jeff Bayonne's book. Quite frankly, it's better than mine. But mine will give you a lot more flavor and drive you all the way to the end where you can actually play some rubber bridge. It's designed mostly for rubber bridge, not for duplicate play. Something people can do in the dorms or in their frat house, sororities. The kinds of things that we did when I was a tad younger than I am now. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it was so long, but there was just an awful lot of stuff that had to get in there so that you could have a one-time through on all the stuff you need to know just to start. Hope it helped.